What's going on, family? And welcome back to the dinner table. I have missed y'all so much this week. Welcome back. I hope everybody had a good week and y'all stayed out of trouble. But I hope y'all are ready to get into this week's case because I have another juicy one for y'all. So, in most of the cases that we've discussed so far at the dinner table, they had some type of motive, whether it was jealousy, insurance money, or a crime of passion. But in the case I'm going to be telling y'all about today, it was so senseless. There was no rhyme or reason behind why this young woman was killed, besides pure hatred. Now, this case isn't very long, but I'm going to make sure I give you all the facts and the details that I was able to collect. So sit on down, get comfortable, get your wine, your popcorn, whatever you need, and let's dive right into it.
That's what it's all about. Guns and butter, baby.
So, this week at the dinner table, I'm going to be telling you about the murder of 18-year-old Nia Wilson. Nia was born November 12, 1999, to her mother, Alicia Grayson, and her father, Ansar Mohammed. She was the youngest of 9 kids, 6 sisters, and 2 brothers, and although her parents were separated, they co parented very well. But the two of them actually stayed in 2 separate cities in California. Alicia stayed in Sacramento, and Ansar lived in Oakland. Now, Nia and her sisters wanted to live in Oakland, so at the time they were living with their dad. Now, she was still close with her mom, but she was definitely a daddy's girl. She was a dancer, and she always talked about owning her own dance studio one day. Not only that, but she was kind of a jack of all trades. She was an aspiring rapper, and her sister Tashia, who was right next to her in age, started a rap group called Girls in the Hood. And listen, it didn't end there. She was also super talented when it came to doing makeup. And she was given the nickname PG for Pretty Girl because she was just that girl. Just pretty, okay? Her dad said when he thinks of her, he thinks of sunshine and her big, bright smile. He went on to say that she was definitely a daddy's girl and he absolutely spoiled her. Like there wasn't one thing that she could ask that he wouldn't do. Now, I don't know what y'all think of when y'all think of Oakland, but when I think of Oakland, I think of the hood, I think of gangs. I mean, my dad lives out there, so I know it has its nice parts, quiet parts, whatever. But I don't know, it just doesn't give me beach, vacation, sunny California vibes. But aside from what I think of Oakland, it is very diverse and it has a mixture of all cultures, so it's not a bad place to be. And just like any city, it has its rough part of town, but it also has the part of town where it's family oriented, where it has a lot of businesses, all that good stuff. But you know, Oakland and California in general is known for its gangs. So if you don't know your way around town, it could be a bit dangerous. But if you're from the area, you know California, you know Oakland, you pretty much know how to move around. You know the do's and the don'ts, the areas to go in, so on and so forth. And moving around traveling by car is not always the best mode of transportation in California with all the traffic and all the overpopulation and all that stuff. So like New York, it has a train system. It's not called the subway, it's called the Bay Area Rapid Transportation System, otherwise known as the BART. So high key, when I think about the BART and the train system in California, I think about that movie Fruitvale Station with Michael B. Jordan, and it just makes me so sad every time. So y'all already know where I'm going with this train system. But Nia did not like riding the BART because it was ghetto. You know, she's very cutesy, very demure, and we don't do that, okay? But a quick backstory on Nia and some tragedy that she had already faced just a couple years before she had passed away herself. So in 2016, Nia's boyfriend passed away in a boating accident, and sadly, he and one of his friends drowned in that boating accident. Now, after he passed, they had a candlelit vigil, and Nia was already dealing with the fact that her boyfriend and her friend passed away. So while at the vigil, Nia is standing around with one of her good friends, Regina Jeffries. They're dancing, trying to make the best of the situation, and as Regina is dancing, a car drives by and just starts firing into the crowd. And just like that, within seconds, Regina was hit in the neck by a stray bullet. And Nia didn't leave her side. She held her and she comforted her until the EMTs arrived to the scene. But sadly, Regina passed away. And even witnessing all this death around her firsthand, Nia was still a loving, caring, and optimistic person. On July 22nd, 2018, there was a celebration of life party for Nia's Aunt Teresa, her dad's sister, who was just recently diagnosed with cancer. So the family decided to celebrate her life and give her her flowers while she was still alive to smell them. So the whole family was there enjoying each other, having a good time, including Nia and her two sisters, Latifah and Tashia. So that night after the get together, Nia and her sisters were supposed to have a ride home. But the family member who was going to be taking them home decided to leave the party a little bit earlier. So their new plan to get home was to take the train. They were supposed to get on the train at Concord Station, then transfer to the train at MacArthur Station and get home. Now they were supposed to call their dad once they boarded the first train so that he would be waiting for them as soon as they got off at MacArthur Station. So they got dropped off at the train station around 9 p.m. that night. So once there, they take the escalator to the top platform in order to get on the train that's going to take them back to Oakland. So after about 15 minutes of waiting, they board their first train and go up about 4 stops. And then around 9:25, Latifah calls her dad to let him know that they're close. So they get off on their stop and then they start walking towards their next train. Now, once they get to their next train, Tashia was moving a little bit faster than Latifah and Nia, so she got on the train before them. So once she gets on the train, she sits down thinking her sisters are right behind her. But they weren't exactly right behind her because a woman with a baby in a stroller were coming on the train as well. So Nia and Latifah waited for the baby and the mother to get on before they got on. So as the woman is boarding the train, Nia gets excited about seeing the little baby. So she leans down, "Hey little baby, hey cutie, you know how we are." And at this exact moment, everything happened so fast. So by now, Tashi is already sitting down. But when she looks up, she sees the woman and the baby get on, and then she describes hearing a popping noise, and then Nia enters the train almost as if she tripped into the train, and then she falls to the ground. And at this time, she sees blood splash across the platform and start spewing from Nia's neck. So she's in complete and utter shock. She had no idea what was going on or how Nia started bleeding, but all she could do was leave the train and run for help. And at this time, Latifah is holding Nia's neck, trying to keep the blood from spewing out. So in this moment of trying to find help, Tashia does what any scared kid would do. She calls her parents, she calls her dad. And he wasted no time. He jumped in the car and sped as fast as he could to the train station. But as all of this is going on, Latifah didn't even notice that she had been stabbed in the neck as well. But she wasn't even worried about her pain. She was in such shock. All she could do was wrap her own hands around Nia's neck. And then the woman with the baby stroller throws Latifah a baby blanket and tells her to wrap it around her neck to stop the blood from coming out. But Latifah was running on adrenaline, and she was holding her baby sister in her arms as the blood spewed out of her neck and her life slipped away within seconds. At 9:52 p.m., all of this happened in less than an hour of them boarding their first train, and Latifah was already being loaded into the ambulance. And by this time, their dad had arrived at the BART station. And as he's running up, frantically trying to figure out what's going on, all he hears is Tashia screaming bloody murder. Hurt. You can hear the pain in her screams. And then he sees his baby girl's lifeless body laying under a tarp. Now the EMTs, police, fire department, everybody, they all arrived within 42 seconds of Nia and Latifah being stabbed. So since everything happened so fast, nobody knew who did this to Nia and her sister. And most importantly, why? So they immediately turned to their surveillance videos. And luckily they were up and running, and they had actually just upgraded their entire surveillance system. So it was able to capture everything clear as day, frame by frame. So on the surveillance videos, you can see the sisters arriving at the BART station at the Concord stop at around 9 p.m. And as they're going up the escalators, you can clearly see a white man standing on the side of the escalators watching everybody come up. And you can see the exact moment when he notices the sisters. And at that exact moment, he puts his hood over his head, grabs his backpack, and immediately boards the same exact train they get on. While they're on the train, he's sitting less than 10 feet away from where Nia is standing, and he's watching their every move through his glasses. Now the train goes up 4 stops and then stops at MacArthur at around 9:38. As the sisters exit the train and then start walking across the platform to get on their last train, You can see him bend down and remove a knife from his sock, and then immediately hides it under his shirt. And as the sisters are waiting for the train doors to open, you can see him looking up and down the platform as if he's looking for his escape route. So Tashia boards the train first, and then the mom in the stroller, and within a blink of an eye, he removes the knife from under his shirt and immediately stabs Nia in the neck twice. And then he stabs Latifah once and tries to stab her again, but his momentum carried him past her, and he loses his balance a little bit. And as he jogs off, Nia stumbles onto the train, and Latifah glances over her left shoulder, and she catches a glimpse of him running away. So he takes off jogging down the stairs to exit the BART station. And by this time, people are starting to run and scream, so he starts running to blend in with them. Next, he's actually caught on the body cam footage of a police officer as he's running past them while they're trying to figure out what's going on. And then he turns to them and tells them that way, literally pointing them in the direction of the crime he just committed. He then jogs about a block away to a BART parking garage. And by this time, you can see that he's already changed his hoodie. You can see him put his bloody hoodie into his backpack, and then he tucks the backpack behind a wall in the parking garage. As he's turning to run away, he stops in the middle of the parking garage, takes his shoes off, drops his sweatpants where he's wearing shorts underneath. Then he picks up his shoes and sweats, discards his sweatpants, and runs out the parking garage. And by this time, Nia had already passed. But an hour later, at around 10:40 p.m., the next surveillance footage captures him standing at a bus stop waiting for a bus. Now, I didn't know this, but in the Bay Area, it's a well-known fact that if you're hurt, it's late at night, and you're in a bad area, the bus driver will give you a free ride wherever you need to go. I know you fucking lying. So listen to this, cousins. When the bus doors open, he tricks the bus driver by telling him that he's hurt his ankle. And then he asks him for a ride to another BART station on either 19th or 21st Street. So the bus driver agrees. He limps his way on the bus, takes his seat, and in his mind, he's just committed the perfect crime and had a clean getaway. Now, he may have thought he had the perfect getaway and he would just never be caught for what he did. Yeah, try again. You see that backpack he left in the parking garage? You think them folks didn't go get it? You're damn right they did, and it was within a matter of hours. So in this backpack, the police pretty much have what they need to figure out who this man is, because his stupid ass left his ID in the backpack. Thank you. So this man is 27-year-old John Lee Cowell, and they immediately plaster his name and his face all over the news. So with finding out who this man is, they're able to dig deeper into his background and see just how obnoxious he actually is. So they find out that he was just released from prison only a couple months before the attack on Nia and Latifah. And according to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, he was convicted of second-degree robbery and assault with a deadly weapon in 2016. And after serving 2 years, he was paroled in May of 2018. But again in 2016, he was arrested for petty theft, illegal possession of tear gas, possession of an illegal smoking device, and drug possession. Ugh, do you smoke crack? But for some reason, those charges were dismissed due to the robbery conviction. I don't know what that means, but yeah. And listen to this. Just 4 days before the stabbing occurred, he was actually confronted for not paying his BART fare. And it was also confirmed that at the time of the attack, his big, fat, funky ass was homeless. So while authorities are doing everything possible to get his name and his face out to the public as quickly as possible, it's now 12:30 p.m. the next day, July 23rd. Now at this time, we know that Nia is already gone. But her older sister Latifah was still in the hospital fighting for her life. And on top of that, she still had no idea that her baby sister was gone. And at this time, social media was going crazy. The community was demanding justice for Nia. The city came together and marched for Nia. They were tweeting, they were posting, hashtagging, say her name, and they were on the hunt for John Lee Cowell. So at this exact moment, Nia's family, her community, everybody came together to hold a vigil for her at the MacArthur station. And while her vigil is being held, authorities receive an anonymous call from a caller who says she's riding the same train with Cowell, and she tells them that they've been on the train since Coliseum Station. So he's leaving 12th Street Station and he's headed back to the scene of the crime at MacArthur Station, the exact location where her family and community are holding her vigil. Just loud and wrong. How do you commit a crime, murder somebody on the train, and then still have enough nerve to ride the train and be in the same area where you committed the crime less than 24 hours ago? Just bold. So they immediately dispatch a train interception at MacArthur Station. And at 6 p.m., the police are all in position at the station waiting for the train to pull in. But when the train arrives and the doors open, Cowell is nowhere in sight. So they believe he possibly transferred at 19th Street to the Antioch line, so they reset and planned another interception at Pleasant Hill. Now, if they're correct and he did in fact get off at 19th Street or even at MacArthur, that means the train would have to pass through Orinda, then Lafayette and Walnut Creek before stopping at Pleasant Hill. So once the police and all the teams get set up at the Pleasant Hill stop, it was pretty much a waiting game from here. And at around 6:27 p.m., the train finally pulls into the Pleasant Hill station, and they were just waiting for the doors to open to see if he was actually on this train. So in less than 24 hours of Latifah's stabbing and Nia's death, as the train doors open, there he was, standing up holding the rails trying to look as clueless as possible. As they place him in handcuffs, he has the nerve to ask, "What happened?" Y'all, and I'm going to say this and you're going to be like, she always does this. No, but this is serious. I want to know why police officers always arrest white men in the most gentlest way after they do the most heinous crimes, but are so quick to beat on and shoot innocent, unarmed black people. What's up with that? But anyways, John Cowell's broke ass was arrested at the Pleasant Hill BART station, and he was held in the Santa Rita jail in Dublin without bail on charges of first-degree murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and violation of parole. John Lee Cowell's arraignment was scheduled for July 26, 2018, but it was postponed to August 22nd. And at this time, the Alameda County prosecutors also added on an extra charge of lying in wait. Now, y'all know I had no idea what that meant, so I had to Google it. So it says, in California, special circumstances of lying in wait is a type of first-degree murder where the defendant intentionally kills a victim while waiting and watching for the opportunity to attack. Okay, very interesting. So, with this charge, if convicted, he was facing life in prison without the possibility of parole or even the possibility of the death penalty. And I'm sure y'all can already imagine what this bozo did. Instead of owning up to what he did and just taking accountability and saying, "Hey, I'm guilty, I did it for whatever reason it was," instead of doing that, he decided he was going to plead insanity. In fact, his family eventually released a statement and they extended their sympathy to the Wilson family. They go on to say that their son had a long-suffering life of mental illness, and he had been in and out of jail and hadn't received the proper treatment. He was also diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia disorder. The family also went on to say that they had a restraining order at one point for their own protection, and they say he had been living on the streets ever since. But y'all, during the trial, this man tried to claim that the sisters were aliens, and the judge ruled that, nah, you were completely sane when you stabbed Nia and her sister, so bring your ass back to reality and face what's about to happen to you. But throughout the entire trial, he was extremely combative in court. He refused to answer any questions. He stayed hollering and having loud outbursts. And he was actually absent most of the trial either because of his outburst or because he refused to come to court. And the DA, Butch Ford, said that he listened to every single one of the jail calls that Cowell had. And it really baffles me how dumb this man is, how he thinks that he's just above surveillance and that these people are not listening to his jail calls. Because during these calls, he was discussing his entire trial strategy. He told one of his family members that he would need to stop taking his medication because he wanted to appear crazier. Oh, okay. That sounds good. But prosecutor Butch Ford alleged that Cowell didn't attack the Wilson sisters on the train because he wouldn't have the chance to get away quickly. So instead, he waited to attack them when they changed trains at the MacArthur station. And, quote, he attacked when they were most vulnerable. He knew what he was doing. Now, Ford went on to say that this attack was most likely racially motivated. So he claims that in one of Cowell's testimonies, he testified that he had been punched in the face by a black woman a week before the stabbing. Then he made a racial remark at a black woman and tried to fight her on the bus an hour after the stabbing. But regardless of all his strategies and all his tactics in order to not be found guilty, on July 17th, 2020, about 2 years after Nia was killed, John Lee Cowles' broke, nasty, homeless, funky ass was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During his sentencing, Nia's family was able to give their victim impact statements. Her sister Tashia says, quote, "I'm afraid to leave the house. I have nightmares, and my life will never be the same. July used to be my favorite month because it was my birthday month, and I knew every year Nia would be with me on my birthday. And I'm glad she was able to be with me on my 21st. But it's a tragedy that I lost her 3 days before my birthday, and I can't even get excited about it anymore." Now, Nia's family did file a wrongful death lawsuit against BART for failing to protect Nia and Latifah. Now, I don't know the outcome of this lawsuit, but this case makes me so sad. Listening to Nia's sisters and her family talk about life now and how they're affected by Nia's death just breaks my heart, because I don't know what I would do without my sister. I don't know what I would do if I lost my sister or just anybody that I love in my arms, just so senseless and carelessly. All this for nothing. All they were trying to do was get home, and they had no idea that they were being targeted for absolutely no reason. But y'all, I think I have said everything I needed to say about this case this week. I hope y'all stay safe out there, and as usual, I hope you enjoyed the case, and I'll see you guys back here same place, same time next week.